Well, hello there, you fabulous interior design professional. I'm so glad you're here. Episode 216, Persistence Pays Off with Kate Hougen. Now, let me ask you a question. If you get rejected in some way, do you fold like a house of cards? I do. Or are you one of those amazing people who thinks this is just the first no on the way to a resounding yes, and you just keep going? This conversation with Kate was therapeutic for me because she says, persistence is like a muscle. You can strengthen it. You can get better at it. And I know this is true. The conversation we have, to me, feels more like a lunch date with a girlfriend, which I'm just so desperate for right now. I don't know about you guys. We even veer off to talk about someone who was so instrumental in helping Kate get her business launched, a Business of Design member, Suzanne Manlove, extremely generous in sharing invaluable information. And I haven't seen Suzanne face-to-face in a long time. And when I did see her most recently, she had red hair. And so I mentioned, I really want my hair to be red like Suzanne's. In the meantime, between the time Kate and I recorded this and the time that this is airing, I did have a chance to see Suzanne over Zoom, and her hair's no longer red. It's still lovely, but it's no longer red. And if you're curious about what color her hair is now, and of course you are, if you're a Business of Design member, you'll find her photo in the show notes for an upcoming members-only podcast. So thank you, Suzanne, for that. And thank you so much for pulling up another human being and helping them run their business smarter, more strategically, more profitably. Everybody wins when that happens, and you'll hear that strong and clear in Kate's message. Kate added the following to her application. Business of Design has transformed my business and proven it's possible to do both decorating and product design. I'm reading this out loud because during the interview, I was so carried away with having fun, I never even asked her about product design. So let me tell you what I know about Mira Jean Designs. That is the line of textiles, fabrics, home goods that Kate launched about 5 years ago. So whimsical, great, delightful colors. I'm absolutely in love with the grass cloth that has the ginkgo leaves on it. So I'm actively looking and setting my intention to the universe that I will find a client who needs exactly that. It's so beautiful. In order to launch this textile design business, Kate leaned into her background, which is in studio and fine arts. And of course, a passion for textile design, which you can see comes through loud and clear. Honestly, make sure you check out her website, mirajeandesigns.com. You can also find her on Instagram under the same handle. I should also say I love that the designs are printed in the United States, and I love that they are on environmentally friendly papers and fabrics. Again, that's Mira Jean Designs. Now I wish I had asked her how she came up with that name. In any case, I'm really glad you're here. Thank you so much for letting me do this podcast. You have no idea how this anchors my week, and I look forward to having these conversations. I learn so much, and I'm just so incredibly grateful to be part of this community. But I'm not the only one who has wisdom to share, as you hear week after week after week. So come on, you know who you are. If you are an ace at something, if you figured something important out, if you've got something to teach this community, the microphone's all yours. Just fill out an application. I would love to have you on the show. And so with the wonderful person waiting in the wings right now, Cheryl Horn. She's going to give us some announcements, and then you get to meet Kate. Hey, Cheryl, what's happening at Business of Design?
Well, I know that everyone's just getting back to work after a long weekend, so hope everyone enjoyed the holiday, and I will keep this short and sweet for today. Just a reminder, next week, April 14th, is our next BOD Live, and we're going to be talking about your dream team. We have BOD member and interior designer Laura Martin Bouvard, which I think is becoming a familiar name in the Business of Design community. 2 of her staff members are going to be joining her, and they're going to be leading the conversation. They are going to share the inner workings meetings of their team. And I know that Laura's staff have been with her for quite some time. So they're going to be talking about how they share responsibilities, how they delegate, how they really keep that dynamic going in their office. So we're really excited to have that conversation. If you're already a BOD member, you're going to receive some reminder emails about that. So make sure you've marked your calendar. And it is April 14th, but we're going to be doing it at a later time. It's going to be 9 p.m. EST. Every once in a while, we like to throw in a later session so that our Australian members don't need to wake up in the middle of the night in order to join us. So if you're a member, hopefully you can join us for that call. And if you're not a member, please think about joining us. These face-to-face meetings are really great to have open and candid conversations with the rest of our community. So something to look forward to. That's it for this week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Welcome to the Business of Design podcast with Kimberley Seldon. Business of Design is the world's best business training for interior design professionals like you. We have the systems, strategies, and protocols you need to consistently satisfy clients, increase profitability, and run your projects like a boss. Unlike traditional coaching, BOD is a fast track to immediate results. Don't try to do this alone. Join today and you'll have access to hundreds of targeted training modules, plus member perks like BOD live events, member-only podcasts, preferred pricing, and the support of an engaged community of peers. We all know design matters. At Business of Design, we think designers matter too.
So much better.
Yes. And I love that. I heard you dictating a text. I do that too.
And then if you don't read them,
Period.
it's like, oh my God. Yeah, that's bad. I'm just hoping she's not going to keep texting me while we're talking. I don't know how to turn that off. Anyway, nice to see you on this.
You too.
February and COVID.
Oh my gosh. And well, it's a snow day here. It's our second snow day in a row. We haven't had any snow until now. And anyway, it's a beautiful powdery white snow outside, but great day to be inside.
Oh yeah. You're in Virginia, right?
Yes.
Lovely.
Just outside of DC.
Oh, and so we must talk about Suzanne Manlove. How is she?
Because she is how I found you.
She's the best.
She's amazing. She's my hero. I so admire her. Oh my goodness.
That's so lovely. I am thinking of her for two reasons. One, because I knew you were coming on the show. But number two, she has the prettiest red hair. And I think I'm going to dye my hair red. So I was actually looking at pictures of her. So now she's listening saying, this is getting weird. But anyway, her hair is really pretty.
I bet she would take it as a compliment.
My hair is
Suzanne.
very COVID right now. It's just always in a clip. I don't know what to do with it. It's tragic. Anyway. There's bigger problems in the world than my hair, that's for sure. But anyway.
Hair is it's important.
Well, yours looks lovely. You're pulled together beautifully, as I would have expected. I loved your application because it was just so full of positive energy and how excited you are about collaboration. And I guess that's a nice tie-in with Suzanne because she's actually the person who kind of pulled you, by the shirt sleeve and said, come on, there's a better way. Let's do this kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely. She deserves all the credit. And she lives just a few miles away from me. I've known her for years. And she and I first connected when I switched careers to come into this field. And she was just from day one, so supportive and just really so open, willing to share information. And I think it was the first time we met for coffee, the very first meeting, she said, you should check out this podcast and this Kimberley Seldon, Business of Design. You should start following her. You should start listening to her podcast. And at the time I was, just overwhelmed with everything so new, and she was totally right. So yeah, it's to her credit.
We all need that, when we're starting out. And I remember that was one of the biggest frustrations. I knew a couple designers who were pretty well known in where I lived in Toronto. And I remember one in particular, a man who's quite famous in Canada. And I said, I'm just super excited. I'm getting started and I need a painter. I just need a painter. Could you give me the name of a painter? And he said, yeah, you should
Right.
try College Pro. I thought, that didn't seem terribly generous. No offense to College Pro, but I knew he did really high-end
Right.
homes. And I thought, well, that is really, really, that's how it's going to be. That's kind of how it felt to me. Like, oh, I
Right.
see. We're supposed to hoard information and not help each other, which is just
Right.
detrimental to all of us, right?
Right. Right. And it's when I realized there's plenty of work for everybody, and not to jump ahead, but just, I said that in the application, there's plenty of business out there, and everybody's different. Everybody has to find the right fit for them and their niche and their style and way of working that's right for them and their clients. And there's just, we're so much stronger in the industry when we share and help one another.
It's so true.
And there's no reason not to.
Yeah, you're so right.
Okay.
So there are several things you need when you first get started, right? An angel to help you direct
Right.
you to whatever it is that you need. But you also have to have courage, and you have to go and do some things that might be hard, right? And for me, that was
Right.
networking, asking for work. Those things were a real challenge to me. How do you feel about those things?
Yes, they're a challenge to me too. So I will say I am an introvert by nature. So to get out there and to network and put myself out there and meet people and vendors and other trades and skilled craftsmen and women, it takes a lot of energy. It's not where I personally draw my energy from. And by the same token, where I do get so much energy from is after I put in the time, just seeing those relationships take hold and grow, and knowing that I've got a network of people that I can rely upon and collaborate with and pull in when I need them. But you have to get out there, and it can be a challenge. It can be a lot of work. And the way I look at it is that's my extended team. I couldn't do my work without them. So it's so rewarding when you find the right people and when you do get out there and put the work in.
My daughter, this morning, very early, my daughter was asked to speak at Career Day for her high school. And she's in her 20s and she's had a couple of jobs now. And one of the messages she hit on, which afterwards the staff of the school said, thank you so much for saying that, was this one, that none of the jobs she's gotten have come to her through filling out an application and waiting. They've all come from her going up to somebody she didn't know and saying, I want to do this. Is this something you could help me with? And that's kind of what you're talking about, right?
Right, exactly. And I think I remember it might have been on your podcast somewhere. Somebody said, if somebody says no, like, can I have the name of a fabulous painter? And you run up against a brick wall, you don't get a good lead, then ask somebody else. Yeah. Right. So just because one person isn't willing to share or doesn't mean that somebody else won't. And so just keep asking, just try another door, try another path.
Don't you find so many of us are delicate flowers though? I am. Like, I never asked another person for a painter because that to me just was like, oh, I see. I did something I'm not supposed to do. You're not supposed to share. And so I won't ask anymore because it just won't be rewarded anyway. And I'm kind of exaggerating, but you know what I mean? Like, we just internalize the first no as the way it is rather than the first no.
Right. Right. Well, and even, this came up on your Facebook page the other day. Somebody was asking about where do you find quality people and trades? And one suggestion I shared was I was in a home. I walked into a home once and the built-ins in the main level living room were beautiful. And I was there with a mutual friend at a non-work related event. And I asked the homeowner, who did your built-ins? Because they were beautiful. And that contact, that lead ended up being one of my best partners when it comes to millwork and cabinetry and built-ins. So just keeping your eyes open, you can be at a totally non-work related event and find a really good lead.
So true. Are there other areas that you can see persistence having paid off in building your business?
Definitely. So, I mean, first of all, marketing, I will say that is extremely helpful. And while it's hard, I think, to relate one particular post to, okay, well, that post brought in this project, which is worth X amount of dollars. It's hard to track it so linearly. And when I've asked people, well, how did you hear about me? How did you find me? If it wasn't word of mouth, and usually it's actually 95% of it is word of mouth.
Right. Yeah.
But there is that 5 to 10% that is, well, I saw something on social media, or I saw, speaking of partners and collaborating with others, I saw somebody tag you in a post, and then that led me to you. And then I started going down a rabbit hole of your page. And just, people do find you through marketing and social media. And so it is important. And I've also found, even if they don't remember, or it's that repetition, that reinforcement, that just keeping your work and your business out there. So I don't have anybody else do the social media. It's me that does it. Yes, it takes time, but I do think it's been really helpful in just being persistent. And I don't, I just try to do a post every day, every other day. I try not to go crazy about it. And be persistent with it, because I do think it helps.
Yeah, I do think it's that consistency, right? If a client sees your name 1 time, 2 times, 28 times, then they're like,
Right.
oh, okay, maybe this is somebody I should talk to.
Right.
And I've ruined myself on social media because I talk about travel and tequila and, and I'm like, the calls I get about those 2 things are not client related. So I really am
building relationships.
No, I really am relying on word of mouth. But it's funny, your clients, even the clients who don't engage, are lurking, right? Because I've had several clients now say, I know you love tequila, and so we got you a bottle of tequila. I'm like, oh, they know that from social media. That's the only way they would know that. So, okay. So then is persistence, I guess this is what I want to know. Is persistence a habit you can build and get stronger at, like, is it a muscle that we can make stronger, that we can strengthen? Because I still can be a delicate flower. I still can hear no and think I'm going to just go over to this corner and die instead of just go ask the next person and it'll probably be a yes.
Right. Well, I think that's also, I do think it's a muscle. That's a really good question. I do think it's a muscle you can strengthen and build. It makes me think of a client too. So if you, let's say, so I do 1-hour consults, I do charge for them now. And there've been a few, in the beginning I didn't, but I do now. And there've been a couple where, I was going in and super excited about the project and to meet them. It was a great address, excited about the property and the potential. And then I did a 1-hour consult and then didn't hear anything after that. Didn't develop right away into a bigger project. And then they came back later. So it just, but what I did do in the meantime was put them on my mailing list and just touch base with them from time to time, send them little updates.
Yeah.
And it was, it's those little things where it's just, I do think and I had a business coach at one point. She was really great about suggesting this too. Just send a little note in the mail, like, oh, I saw, it could be something as silly as like, oh, I know you love
tulips and
like daffodils, right? And
yeah.
the daffodils are up, and I was just thinking of you. Happy spring. Hope you and your family are well.
Completely true. Yeah, absolutely. There's so many times a project has sprouted from a little gesture like that with a client that I just haven't seen in 5 years or, 10 years.
Yeah. So and that's persistence, because it takes time. You have to stop and write the note.
Right.
But I do think, I think persistence. So I do try to be really disciplined in terms of, every Friday have a fabric related post. I call it Fabric Friday, or, once a month, try to get an e-blast out. So, and it can be, okay, I've got a new blog post up, or I have a new design out, or a new project I'd like to share, or, the content can vary, but just really trying to have at least once a month touch point. So that takes discipline. I had to do an editorial calendar and sit down and map it out for the year and put it on my calendar. And it wasn't, what's the word? It didn't, in the beginning, it was more work. In terms of, I have to remember to do it. Good thing it was on my calendar. And now, to your point about a muscle, now it is more sort of, it's Fabric Friday. It's not a big deal. It's just sort of rote, and part of what I do on Fridays. But it did take time to, I guess, to strengthen that muscle.
Well, in a way, I guess, that could be a sort of a mirror of our businesses as well, and all the different protocols and systems and strategies we put into place. They're always difficult at the beginning, but after a while, it just seems like it's the only way to do things.
Right.
What in your business is transformed these days? Like, have you noticed an improvement in a system or a protocol or a strategy that you really are happy about?
Yes. So first of all, rates.
Let me guess, they haven't gone down. They've gone up. Good.
So I did increase my rates, and your podcast and this community has been such a great champion of raise your rates. And, and if somebody says no, well, then maybe they weren't the right client to begin with, right? But I've been pleasantly surprised. I just raised my rates in 2021, and not one person said no. And I have a lot of repeat business. And I was worried, and I asked a couple other designers, do you raise your rates if it's an existing client, or do you only raise your rates when you've raised them for new clients? And I had several different points of view on that. I took a risk, and I had a couple clients this month who wanted to come back and start another project. We worked together last year, and I said, okay, I hope it's not a deal breaker, though. I need to let you know I've raised my rates. And so that step, that strategy, that important step in earning a living is
right.
Right.
There is that.
Right. It's totally fine. So just do it. If you're thinking about it, just do it. Just try it. I was pleasantly surprised at how easy it's been.
And I love that you're not saying that it wasn't scary. You're not saying that you were positive it would be great, but you had that fear and you did it anyway. So just prior to this call, I did a Zoom consultation with clients, and it's a flat fee project. And, it doesn't matter what the project is, but when it comes time to say the flat fee, I still find it really scary. So anyway, I really hemmed and hawed. I know it should be 75, but maybe 50 sounds better. This is all in my head, So I know enough now that to give the number to give the correct number. Don't give a lower number. So anyway, I said, based on the conversation, the scope of work, it sounds to me like you're looking at design fees in the neighborhood of $75,000. How does that sound? And they went, yeah, great. And it was kind of like, yeah, no problem. And I was like, so I said, did I say 75? I meant 155. And they started laughing. But, when they say, yeah, great, it means you're probably low. You probably went low, right?
Right.
So it's a work in progress. It's for sure. But you don't have to have no fear to do the hard thing.
No, it's totally, if you're thinking about it, just do it. Just try it. I think you'll be really surprised. The other thing I did was your contract. I bought your contract template, and I had one that was previously that I was using, and it was fine. And there were always questions around purchasing and sharing discounts, and not always, but sometimes. And I went back and I took a good hard look at my contract around the holidays, and I thought, I don't really articulate as well as I should probably how all of that works or could work. And so I redid bought your contract template and I revamped my contract. So thank you.
No, that's great. Thank you. That's fantastic. Like, honestly, those things keep Business of Design running. And we have so many projects and initiatives that we want to work on. Like, we are just desperate to get into schools and to provide training for teachers to do a better job of teaching business to the students, like to start talking about on day one, what kind of salary are you going to earn? How are you going to earn profit? How will you build wealth so you can retire one day? I mean, those are just not even close to being in the curriculum yet. And if you went to any business school, you would know all about that. And what is this if it isn't a business?
Right. And it's so needed. And this whole idea, you're such a great champion of this, of how you need to value your time. And so I also started tracking my time. So that's another strategy and tool, I guess you could say. But I started that last year. And when I started adding up, I had a few flat fee projects that I had taken on. And so the number was already negotiated and set. And I thought to myself, I haven't done too many of these yet. Is my number close? Are they, is it a fair price, basically? And then when I started tracking my time, Kimberly, I was like, oh my gosh, they got such a good deal.
Right.
I totally undercharged. So, so time tracking too.
That is one of the biggest
really important
challenges in convincing people who do flat fees to track their hours. They don't want to. The whole reason I do flat fees is because I don't want to track hours. And I'm like, great, but you have this limited resource of time. And you have to figure out if you're giving away too much of this time, of your resource of time, right? And the only way to do that is to know how long it took you to do the job, like, period.
Right.
So there's just no shortcuts, Honestly, there's so many easier ways to earn a living, but this is right. But you can earn a really great living doing this. Like, you should not be doing this job for $20,000, $30,000 a year. It's not worth it. There's other places to go.
No.
Yeah.
And not being, I'm thinking now too about the whole idea of charging for your time, not being afraid to, there was one project where the contractor suggested a different, basically he changed the design vision, if you will. And instead of having sinks undermount, he thought they would look really cool if they were on top of the countertop. And so they were
my face. What?
I know, right? Yeah. So I know, deep breath. So, and when I got the call, the first call I got was from the client saying the faucets don't work. And I thought to myself, well, how is that possible? Because I selected them hand in hand with somebody I trust at my local, the supplier where I purchased them from. We went through every piece of that project. I'm like, how could they not fit? I don't understand. So it was a Saturday, of course. And I was scrambling then, stopped what I was doing with my family, scrambled to research the specs on the sinks. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Anyway, long story short, learned the faucets were fine. It was the installer who changed course, which then led to a change. So we had to return, and there was a restocking fee and all that. And so I sent the client a bill. I said, here's my time, and there is a restocking fee. Yeah. And then you'll get some credit, but by the time you take out, and they couldn't believe there's a restocking fee.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important to have that in the contract, right? Yep, there it is, right there, because the suppliers charge us a restocking fee. I don't put that restocking fee in my pocket. I have to pay it. And the reason you don't have to give 100% of the money is because I have a good relationship with the supplier, and they're only charging you 30% instead of 70%, right? Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. I think a podcast where we just tell those stories is just the best, right? Because every day, every week, we're all dealing with stuff like that. So have you put something in place so that can never happen again? Like, contractors cannot change something you specified, or else it creates a huge problem.
So that's a really good point. Have I changed the contract? I have to go back and look at my.
Are you doing? So you're not doing the purchasing. You weren't doing the purchasing.
Yes, I did on that one. I did.
So how did he change the sink then if you did the purchasing?
So okay, that's a great question. I did all the purchasing except for the countertop. He wanted to bring in his countertop person. So when they went to, so he had the ability to control, he was scheduling the measure and, for the install for the countertop. That was how it happened. So I was not involved in that piece. He was basically the contractor on site, and it was his countertop person. So he could change the countertop, no problem. And that was he worked with the clients directly on that aspect of the purchasing.
So if he could change the countertop, but the sink wasn't part of the countertop.
They were supposed to be undermount.
Yeah.
So we were just going to have them. Yeah.
So he also then ordered the sink.
No, I ordered the sinks.
But how did he end up with an overmount sink then?
So they are actually these really cool. They're made of, it's a lightweight concrete. They're like trough sinks.
Oh, beautiful. But so the supplier the person who supplied the trough sink?
So I purchased them on behalf of the client. They're Native Trails is the manufacturer.
Okay. And then where did the countertop come from?
Countertop was through their contractor and their contractor's countertop person.
So how did he switch the Native Trails sink?
So the sinks can be installed under mount or on top. You have the flexibility to install them however you want.
I see. He just made the judgment to install it differently. It's the same sink.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I was super confused. I thought he ordered one of those old, fashioned with a lip sink that you drop in, like a drop-in sink, which are pain to clean and ugh.
Nope. So you can install the sink either way. And we originally thought they would be undermount. So the fixtures were fine at the height that they were at. Yeah. So when you put it on top, they had to be much taller.
Wow. Lesson learned. Did you go back to the contractor and say, here's the thing?
So I talked with the client directly about it, and they basically, he was their contractor that they recommended. Right. So that's another lesson learned, right? So recommend the contractors that and trust and work with. This client chose to bring in their contractor.
Yeah, that's fine. And just, the next time you have a client who wants to bring in their contractor, tell them that story and just say, it's perfectly fine. Here's the kind of things that could happen. And if you want to be responsible for that, no problem. We're happy to work with anybody.
You say that so nicely.
Well, once you have a few battle scars, how many times does that have to happen before it's really clear to you it's a bad idea to separate the team? It has to be one team, right? In fact, we're working on a commercial project, and normally in commercial projects, you would tender the work out to 3 different contractors, and then you would present those 3 contractors' bids to the board of directors, and they would choose one. And I told them, I'm happy to do that, but honest to God, I know the contractor who should do this job. He'll be the guy in price in the middle. He won't be the most expensive. He won't be the least expensive. It'll save so much time. Could we just skip all that nonsense? And they go, yep, great, do it. So I'm like, awesome. Because that contractor is going to come back 5 years later when there's a problem and fix it. He's not going to be out of business, and he's not going to be not returning my calls. And I don't know. Right. It's a tough business. That's an interesting thing to have gone through.
Well, and I also heard, I remember reading somewhere, another designer, I think he's out in California, and I can't remember which firm it was, but he was talking about how he works with contractors and how basically if a client wants to bring in their own contractor, that's fine. Like you said, no problem. And he charges an additional percentage. Mm-hmm.
It's like
because he says, I don't know. Right. He's like, I can't vouch for their work. It's going to take me more time because we don't know each other. We haven't worked together before. Mm-hmm. That was his business justification of it. It's basically more time and more work for me to learn how to work with your contractor. So I certainly can, but there is an additional fee.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. It's just, it's further disincentive or
Yeah.
it's payment so you can deal with the headaches that are going to happen. And the truth
Right.
is sometimes we work with somebody's contractor and they're great. Like I did a project through 2-3 years ago and I have a new contractor that I love working with now in the country where where we do some projects and I'm just so grateful. He's like a great contractor in an area that doesn't have a lot of great contractors. So sometimes it
Yeah.
works out.
Yeah. Sounds like a good find. Well, and I had a friend who she did a kitchen renovation and I did not work for her on the design. She actually, did the design work herself. She has a great eye and she was very capable of doing it. And she loved her contractor. And so I got his number. I said, all right, basically, if you're that happy with him, and she's very particular too, then that's a contractor I would trust. And now we've worked on a few jobs together. He's great.
That's good. Actually, that's a really good point. Sometimes we get our best leads from people who aren't designers but have used a service and have been really happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're listening and you're sitting on some trades who aren't your A team, but rather they're your B team or your C team, don't settle for that. Start looking for the new ones. Because in my experience, if they're a B or a C, sometimes they get worse, not better.
That's a really good point. Yes. And also people get busy. So right now I'm actually looking for a couple other photographers to add to my roster. I've been working with two primarily to date, and I love both of them. They get busy, they book up. And so I just think it's always helpful to, and that's one of my other goals this year is to build the network, right? So even if I have a couple wonderful partners in an area, I want to add a couple more.
What partners are you looking for? Well, photographers,
and then also wallpaper installers. So I was telling my daughter, she's 16, and I said to her the other day, I said, if you want to own your own business, meet people, see different kinds of places and homes, think about and make a good living, think about being a wallpaper installer. There aren't that many of them here, Kimberly.
No, I know. And imagine if you were really good at it and you trained a couple people under you. The business model I always think about too, we have this company that we use who hangs all of our artwork. And they come in with 2 people and laser level machines or whatever, and everything you need to hang anything, whether you're drilling through concrete or, if it's a huge heavy mirror and you have to build a brace at the back, they have all the tools they need. Everything. And so they come in, on the morning of an installation and they might be there 8 hours, but at the end of 8 hours, everything is hanging, everything is level, everything is done and it's perfect. Like, I think what an amazing model.
I love it. And efficient.
Yeah. And they're flying now all over the world. People are hiring them and then sending them to Barbados to do installations because there's just not that many of them.
Wow.
So 2021, you raised your rates, you changed your contract, you're focusing on building better collaborations. Well, that seems like enough. I was going to say, so what else are you doing? But I don't know. Is there, what else?
Yeah. So I am trying to build out the roster for trades. And then I did hire somebody. I hired an assistant, basically, an office manager, right-hand person. I still do all of the design work. I actually think she sells herself short. I think she has a great design eye. She has not been trained professionally or academically in interior design. She has a great eye. And anyway, she basically said, she approached me last year to help me out. She knew I was getting busy. And it's a funny story. She's actually also a former client.
No.
Yes, she is. And with COVID, her job situation changed last year, and she was interested in doing something completely different from what she has been doing professionally. And so she kept asking me if she could work with me, and I finally decided, well, I better hire somebody because I can't do it all, and I don't have to do it all. So, all those things that Kate Hougen, can easily delegate, that it doesn't have to be done by me personally. And when I started making a list of what that looked like, then I decided I should really just.
What was on the list of the things that you didn't need to do yourself?
Oh, I mean, it's everything from, marketing. So I have a mailing list. I haven't updated it in over a year. Returning samples, right? Picking up samples, going to source. Okay, I know I need a teal green performance fabric from this furniture maker locally. Can you just go and check out from their library what are the closest to this paint swatch color fabric samples, all of those. And then also on the purchasing side, so we just wrapped up a project where the client, we did a design guide for them. They signed off on it. So then we're moving into purchasing. Okay, check the trade discounts, check the stock, check the availability, do the budget, run the spreadsheet, run the numbers. So I can get back to them with, okay, we can handle all the purchasing. And then minus, I share the discount now, minus the discount. Here's one check you need to write to me. And so she helped with all of that. So it was just such a time saver. It's the best thing. I know it's only February, right? But she started like, what took me so long, and how did I live without her before this?
Right.
Just 1 month in, it's just been a huge, huge help.
Well, it sounds like she's doing real tasks that have real value to clients. And so you're billing clients for her time as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. Yep. So nothing but blue skies ahead for 2021. I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, but our business feels, for all of us, it feels like we're on the right side of this economy, whatever's happening out there. And it looks like we could just coast through this one. Wouldn't that be nice to get a pass on the chaos for a change?
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Can that really happen?
I was totally thinking, we're going to have a terrible economic downturn. Like it's going to be really bad. And it still might happen, I suppose. But even if it happens, it feels like clients were stuck at home so long, they're just looking around and saying, we are going to need some help with this place.
Right.
And if they haven't called yet, they're going to call because they're still not leaving home. They're still at home.
And I do think, I don't know what your thoughts are, but as working virtually too, I've been surprised at how much you can do virtually.
Yeah.
And yes, it's so helpful to go to a client's home and, especially if they're just refreshing an area of their existing home, just to see already what's there and get a better sense of, for their style and how they are living in the space. Yes, it's great to see all that in person. And I've been amazed at how much you can do through FaceTime or a Zoom call.
Right? I know. I think things will be changed forever after this. I think we're just going to become more efficient. I mean, I just feel like I can get a lot done in a day because I'm not jumping in and out of a car to go places.
Right.
But I really would like a haircut, honestly, and some hair color. So
I did break down and go to the salon. I had to.
Did you? Oh, yeah. I'm thinking about it. I'm really thinking about it. It's hard to decide, right? There's part of me, I don't want to be COVID shamed because there's that, right? You don't want people to be like, oh, that's a risk you shouldn't take. But on the other hand, I'm starting to look like a troll. So something must be done.
You look great, Kimberly. You look fabulous.
Oh, you're so sweet. Okay, so every episode ends with design intervention. What comes to mind?
Yes. It's okay to say no. I've been surprised at how, I think so many of us are people pleasers, right? We're in the business of keeping people happy, making them happy in their homes and with their homes. And so I hate to tell people no. And it's totally okay to say no, or to say, you know what, I can't this month, but I would love to work with you next month. Let's get something on the calendar for next month.
Yeah, it's okay to be busy too, right? To say we're just swamped. And so we're looking at April for the next appointment or whatever. That's fine.
Yep.
what are top 3 things, just really rapid fire, top 3 things, top 3 reasons to say no?
Because quality work, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you stretch yourself too thin, then I'd be concerned, is the work of the caliber and quality that I want it to be?
Mm-hmm.
Burnout.
Yeah.
I don't want to burn out. I want to keep loving this work. And I think, gosh, the third thing, I don't know.
Not a client fit, not a project that you're enthusiastic about.
Yeah. And is it a project that I just think wanting to, whatever the project is, however big or small it is, wanting it to be your best work, right? So, and wanting it hopefully to be something that you would be proud to have photographed and to share with other people to help you grow your business. So sometimes if it's a 911 call and, that 911 call, I'd love to help many people, but that 911 call doesn't have to be my 911 emergency. I don't have to drop everything to help that person who suddenly, because their contractor said they need to select X, Y, and Z, and they totally forgot, or they, last minute, and can I please help them? And if I do that, then other projects might suffer, and that will stress me out. So, and throw my schedule, wreak havoc on my schedule. So I think it's okay to say no. I think it's okay to wait, ask people to wait, and you don't have to, as much as we are or can be people pleasers, you don't have to take on somebody else's problem just because they are having a challenging situation. Doesn't have to be yours too.
Such good advice. Thank you so much, and continued success in 2021. I'm excited to see what's ahead for you.
Thank you. Well, I hope we all get to meet at one of the conferences one day. We'll see.
Oh, please. I know. We're just like, could we plan something now? We keep like, now? How about now? Maybe now? It's really, we're all waiting. Let's hope there's vaccines for everybody, and we'll all be together soon, for sure.
Yes. With Suzanne Manlove too.
Yes.
She'll have to be there too.
Please, on my new red hair, if I ever get it. We'll see if I'm brave enough. All righty. Stay well.
All right. Thanks, Kimberly. Thanks so much.
Thank you for being part of the Business of Design community and supporting BOD's mission to improve the industry one design business at a time. It's time for you to take the next step and join Business of Design. Like thousands of design professionals in 50 countries around the world, you'll find the systems, strategies, and protocols you need to dramatically improve your business and transform your life. What are you waiting for? Start today.